We see that this we have a special meal this week. It's donated לעילוי נשמת רפאל בן רוני וניסים בן אברהם שמשרתי מדינה בצורך חיים. In every word of Torah we're going to say over here is going to be לעילוי נשמתם. The souls are going to go higher and higher in שמיים. That Hashem to be zoche to go למעלה בגן עדן. Okay, this week's parashat Shoftim. Starts off, Shoftim ושוטרים תיתן לך בכל שעריך. Judges and officers you should give to yourself in all your gates. Now, in the simple meaning, it means there's judges, people who decree laws, and officers, people who enforce laws. They should put in the gates of the cities, right? That's the simple meaning. That every city, every city should have its own judges, its own officers that should go around. The Rambam says officers literally means guys who would go around to enforce the laws, who would walk around like police officers, common police officers like we know today, who go and enforce the laws. However, in the Kabbalah, in the Yesod, it says over there, when it's talking about Sha'arim, when it's talking about gates, it's talking about something else. It's not necessarily talking about the cities. Yes, that's the pshat, that's the simple understanding of it. However, when you go a little bit deeper, we understand that Sha'arim is talking about the gates, it's talking about the gates of a person, the gates of a human being. And what's the gates of a human being? He has his eyes, his ears, and his mouth. Those are the gates. Those are the things in which things come out, things come in, and things come out. For example, what you see, something that's coming in. When you're hearing something, it's coming in. When you're eating something, it's coming in. And when you're talking, something is coming out. Right? These are the gates in which you have entrances coming in. It's a gate. It's like an opening. These openings... ברוכים הבאים. אשריך, I came so far away. Okay?
Oh, the guy who comes last is supposed to the next one.
That's right. Openings. So he's talking about Pia Kabbalah, he's talking about these things. Now we know how important a person watches his eyes. מה זה eyes? A person goes, everything he sees משפיע on him. We all know that one person who you see him, listen, I'm going to go to the beach, I'm going to go to this place, I'm going to go to that place, and he sees a woman over there dressed immodestly, and he says, oh, me, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. Me personally, I see it, it doesn't do anything to me. But what he doesn't understand is it has a spiritual impact on the person. Spiritually, it has an impact on you. Not only that, now that we're in Chodesh Elul, right, which is the time when we do Selichot and Sfaradim, we do Sfalichot from 40 days, because we have the minhag, the Moshe Rabbeinu went up to get the second Luchot, the second tablets, in Rosh Chodesh Elul until Yom Kippurim. So Shulchan Aruch writes that it's a time for, what's it called, the Et Ratzon, it's a time for Rachamim, mercy on the Jewish nation right now, so we do Selichot. And in Selichot, one of the things we say is forgive me for something that I saw, and bati lede keri balayla, and I came to spill seed in the nighttime. What does it mean? And you saw something during the day that you might have thought didn't affect you, comes in the nighttime, and when you were sleeping, you woke up when you had a wet dream on Tzarenu. And we know that Adam HaRishon, before there was Chava, there was another woman. Her name starts with a Lamed, right? And we know that she takes these droplets of semen and she uses them to make demons or called mazikim. And what do? They come and they cause you problems in your life. Everything that happens to you, all these little details, all these little sufferings that you go throughout the day, a car ding here, a car scratch here, right now, a tree branch falls down on your car, makes a dent, whatever it is. These things are often the mazikim, that they come from these things. Now, is a person completely in fault? Not completely, however, he does have some fault. He's negligent. And that he went and he opened himself, put himself in a place where he shouldn't have been, and he saw something he shouldn't have saw. And then later on, he had the thoughts coming back to him in his mind while he was sleeping, in the subconscious mind, and it aroused in him a certain curiosity. So it's very important that a person washes his eyes from things that he's going to see. Because they're going to have, not only in this case, in every case, because these things have a spiritual impact on you. A person who calls himself, I want to be a holier person, right? I want to get closer to God. I want to start learning. What's the most famous question? A person tells you, how come when I learn, I can't retain what I'm learning? I learn, right? I sit down, I learn, open up a book. I finish learning after an hour. Ask me a question, I have no idea how to answer you. What's the difference between me and a guy sitting in a yeshiva in Yerushalayim? Right? He has the ability to remember more than I have the ability to remember. Now, in a certain sense, he does, because he's been practicing his whole life to remember things. However, it's also the kedusha in the aspect that he's a person, he's sitting down all day, his eyes aren't looking anywhere. And that's a sgula, that's a merit that if a person who's watching his eyes, that's one of the sgula, he's going to remember his limud. Everything he learns, he's going to be able to remember, because he watches himself, he keeps himself holy, he keeps himself pure. That's the eyes. Now also we know the ears. It's very important what a person hears. Now to start on a small scale, When a person listens to music that has cursing, and then like today's music, all this rap music, every 2 seconds you hear F, B, boo, beep, bop, bop, beep. If you hear ever the radio version, you don't hear any song. All you hear is beep, 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 beep. It's very a song of beeps. Amen. It's called the beep song. The bleep, bleep, bleep. Amen. So much curse word you never heard. Why? Because he wants to keep his mouth clean. Imagine now you go to a job interview. You're sitting down over there. Hi, nice to meet you. What's your name? My name is David. My name is David. Nice to meet you. How you doing? F, beep, bop, boop. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming in today. How much more so when you're meeting people? You don't want to be talking like that. But when you hear these things, what happens now? Starts to become ingrained in your mind. It becomes regular. You become desensitized to it. All of a sudden, you never know. You start talking to your friend. All of a sudden, you throw a word. Whoa, where'd that come from? Oh, you're listening to Pop Smoke 20 minutes ago. That's what happened. What do you think? You think Chief Keef Pop Smoke go free? It's not like that. See? What a person hears. Kama v'kama. How much more so? That a person listening to Lashon Hara. Somebody that's talking about another person. Today in our generation, how many people like to speak Lashon Hara? People want to speak all day. Right? You meet up with a friend. You want to talk. How you doing? How's everything? After about 10 minutes of talking about your life and nothing else to talk about, you heard about so-and-so. You heard about this one. You heard about this one. Did you hear about this one's doing it? Whoa, where did the conversation go? I personally, I haven't hung out with a couple, during the winter time, I'm more of a homebody. I don't hang out so much. And Baruch Hashem, you grow. I have friends I haven't seen in many years. All of a sudden, you say, you know what? They called me one night, so I want to go out with them. I'm sitting down going out. Normal, same friends. I'm a different person now. I go out with them. We're sitting down in someone's house. We're talking. As we're talking, I'm just hearing this one, that one, this one, that one, this one, that one. Just non-stop talking about other people. I'm like, we have nothing else to talk about. Let's talk about how you're doing. No, we have to talk about other people. Dafka. It's the generation that we live in. People are just ingrained in them. All they want to do is talk about other people because their life is not interesting enough to talk about themselves. Right? So I'll talk about interesting other things first. Not only that, they want to bring it down. As we know, Lashon Hara, how powerful it is. It can ruin someone's life. We know personally many stories of people who go on shidduchim date. They go on dates to meet a girl. After they meet the girl, things are going well. They announce they're getting engaged. As soon as they announce they're getting engaged, all of a sudden the mother and the father get a phone call. Oh, I heard about her. She's like this. I heard about him. He's like this. He did like this. He did like that. He's like that. Right away. The phone calls coming in. People talking. Why? And it's not even things that are true. People can't have it. They can't see another person happy like that. Some people, they don't have that ability. It bothers them. So they start talking. So a person needs to be machmir. How much what he says. Kama v'kama, how much what he says. The next gate is your mouth. What are you talking, like we said, about the cursing and everything like that. If you're speaking Lashon Hara, if you're hearing Lashon Hara, but also what you're eating. A person needs to be machmir on what he's eating. Because as we said many times in the past, what you eat is what you are. Right? Everyone knows that famous saying? You are what you eat, right? Same thing here. Same principle applies. Not just talking about over here weight and everything like that. We're talking about Dusha. A person who makes sure that what he's eating is 100% kosher, meikar adin, le'ali ran schud, Baruch Hashem. Every time I get phone calls, Baruch Hashem, almost every day I get a phone call. What about this place? What about this kashrut? What about this kashrut? Bemet, yamod l'schuto, bemet. Ben Adam Chazak, he cares, he's makpid on these things, and he knows how to, he knows to be makpid because he knows these things directly mashpia on the shefa. These things are directly correlated with how much shefa a person has, how much abundance he has, and how much kedusha he has. These things that a person is makpid. I'm going to be makpid to go and make sure and check before I just, I see a thing on the door that says kosher, that's it. Right? Like if you go, there's a certain place over here, without naming names, on Avenue T, and it says in big Hebrew letters, kasher. Walk by in Shabbat, you see they're open. Ech kasher. In what world did you get to kasher? You guys are open on Shabbat. The driver is driving around on Shabbat with the you ever see the guy? Kosher style. No, what's the kosher style? It says in the thing kasher. It doesn't say kasher style. It doesn't say, we don't see the word style in there.
Kosher, but if you want cheese, they'll put it.
Yeah, put your cheese. Not only put your cheese, they put you whatever you want over there, and if you want, they throw even a little bit of bacon in there. Whatever you want. On Shabbat, mainly you want to tell me the car's not driving around with the gigantic logo on the car on Shabbat. But Sina, they're going quietly. You don't want anyone to know that they're serving food at the back. The restaurant is open with the beaming lights open, beeping in the front. The car is fully decked out with advertising and they're driving on Shabbat. And a kasher on the side. Who has the audacity to say such a thing? Kasher. Now, back in the past, someone who didn't know any better, didn't call to verify, to check. Imagine now an Israeli guy comes down from Israel, right? He comes from Israel, he comes to America, he's passing by, kasher, kasher. He goes inside and he eats. Oh, מה עשית פה? It's רבנות, or whatever it is. You don't know. But the person is checking, he didn't check. He didn't check nothing. Also in Israel. In Israel it's a little bit worse, because in Israel they have like different levels. So maybe he probably would maybe know to check if he was a little bit more holding. However, it's difficult to know. You see in big, you know what I'm saying? The person needs to be makpid. He needs to be more strict at what he puts in his mouth, to check, to verify. Obviously we know tolaim when it comes to bugs. How many people go to kosher restaurants and they don't even check? How's the mashgiach checking? Who's the mashgiach? They don't know anything about the greens that are going on over there. And as we know, if you look, greens, especially kale, and spinach, arugula, all these things, parsley, are infected with bugs. Infected with bugs. Lettuce, not as much. Lettuce is a little bit easier. I'm going to tell you the truth, lettuce is a little bit easier. Lettuce is a little bit easier. It's white, it's easy to see. You put an LED light, it's a little bit easier. But kale, broccoli, all these vegetables are very hard. You cannot see that in the bugs. If you ever seen them, aphids, they're identical color. It's almost impossible to distinguish between them. And it's almost impossible that you can't even distinguish between them. You can't even. You're looking at it. It's like, this is a bug. How do you even know it's a bug? But a person who's makpid and he goes and he checks and he verifies and he checks the right sources and he makes sure how is it done over here? How do you guys check it? What do they do? What's the system? And he goes and he asks and he verifies the steps. This person is going to be zochet. He's going to have the merit. And he's going to do shah. Is going to grow immensely because he knows that these things have a direct ashpah. Now, how do we know? What can we do in our days to be able to have the ability to watch ourselves, watch our gates, watch our openings, watch our eyes, watch our mouth? What can we do? Sometimes you find yourself in a situation, what can you do? Comes the Rabbanim and say, in this context, Shoftim v'shotrim, when it comes to judges and officers, that the Pasuk is talking about, when it came to the Pshat, it was literally talking about judges and officers, and judges we know to be the rabbis, and officers are the ones who enforce. Sanhedrin, we have the courts, and the ones that enforce are the ones that go out and enforce. However, when it comes to this yesod that we're talking about over here, the gates of your eyes, your ears, your mouth, and whatever, and your nose, let's say, all these gates of your openings, your passageways of your face, of your body, talking over here that the judges, the shoftim, is talking about the halachot, is talking about the laws, and the shotrim is what? Is the rabbis. What's the rabbis? The rabbis, as we know, Chazal says, Hashem tells the rabbis, Asu siag la Torah. Make a safeguard for the Torah. And what does it mean? That a person shouldn't fall to do a sin. The rabbis instituted certain laws that a person shouldn't fall. For as we know on Shabbat, there's a certain thing of hotza'at. It's called taking out from a private domain into a public domain. To carry something on Shabbat is not allowed. You're not allowed to take something from here and carry it out into a public domain. That's the halakha. So what's the siyag on it? Muktzeh. Don't carry anything that has no function to you. Don't start picking up things that you don't have any use for. If there's no use for it on Shabbat, don't pick it up. Why? That you might come and carry. So they made a certain law on it. Also, another one, yichud, which means being alone with a woman, who's being yichud with the eshet ish, or all the women that are in the Torah. Says you cannot be with these women. That's the oraita. However, with a single woman, to be alone with her in a room in a closed house, that in yichud, meaning by one-on-one by herself, with a locked door, that's a siyag. That's a siyag. That's not much Torah. Huh? That's a siyag from the rabbis. Why? That you won't come to fall to touch a woman who's nida. Now, what's nida? A woman who's 12 years old, when she gets her menstruation, she has a spiritual impurity on her called nida. And until she gets married and goes to the mikveh, she has it on her whole entire life. Comment says, don't be in a room with a woman who's single. The rabbis say, why? Because you might come and touch her. Kama v'kama, they have relations or whatever it is, that you shouldn't do it. That is siyag. The rabbis are coming and they're safeguarding you. And it's like the famous parable. There was a couple who got married. They wanted to go buy a house. So what did they do? They went shopping in the market. They called the real estate agent. They said, hey, what are we going to do? We want to buy a house. Called the real estate agent. Start shopping around. They found a beautiful house. Beautiful open yard in the front. Grass. Beautiful. They move in. After about a year, they decide we want to get a dog. What dog did they get? A German Shepherd. Right? Now all of a sudden what happens now? The dog is a puppy in the beginning. So they let him run around. No problems. After about 6 months, he's a horse. You know what I'm saying? 65 pounds, the dog is already barking. Everybody, people are afraid to even walk by your house. Your house is on the block is a scary house. Right? They see things are getting a little out of control. So what do? They put up a fence. Now, things calm down after about a year. People forgot about this German Shepherd. What happens is, kids are playing on the street. the ball goes over the fence. The kid jumps the fence, gets bit by the dog. Why? Because he didn't adhere to the fence. The fence was there for your protection, not for my protection. It's my dog. He's not going to do anything to me. The fence is by my house for your protection. Because before it wasn't there. It's there for your protection. But you want to jump over it? Like Chazal says, Poretz gader, person who what is it? The snake is going to bite him. A person who breaks down the fence, of the Rabbanan, of the rabbis, is going to end up getting bit by a snake. What does the snake mean? Yetzirah. The Yetzirah is going to get him to fall. A person who doesn't know how to keep these certain gates in front of him, he's going to end up falling. And it's no pele that this week's parasha, it's no surprise in this week's parasha, that in the 17th chapter, in the 11th verse, over there it says, Lo tasur min adavar asher yigudu lecha yamin u'smol. Don't veer from what they tell you, left or right. That's what it says, talking about the rabbi. It says you have to listen to what they're telling you. Why? Because everything they're telling you is to safeguard you, that you're not going to come and fall to do a sin. Why? These are the things that they put in front of you. And why yamin u'smol? We know, famously we know, yamin u'smol. Why does it use the language left, right or left? Sometimes in life, when the rabbi tells something, or when you read something in the halakha book, and the rabbis write down, you think to yourself, it doesn't really make sense to me. I'm feeling like it's right, and the rabbi's saying it's left. It says, even if you think it's right, or if you know that it's right, and the rabbi's telling you to go left, you go left. Meaning, have faith in the rabbis. Have faith that they know what they're saying is true. You have to have what we call respect. To understand that when a person learns Torah, when a person's sitting down and learning Torah, the more he grows in Gdula, the more he learns the Torah and is ochez in the sugya, knows the Torah very well, the halachot and the dinim that go according to it, the more you have to respect what the person says. As the more they grow, as we know, they're Gdolei Ador, we have the highest of the generations, and we have rabbis in the communities. But even the rabbis in the community, when they have questions, they go to Gdolei Ador. There's a hierarchy of how things are, and everyone has something that they're going to. They have a rabbi, they have a teacher.
Quick question. What if your father's telling you one thing and your rabbi's telling you another? Do you listen to
The rabbi.
father?
To the rabbi. It depends on the situation. Right? Yeah, what's the rabbi?
That your father's telling you this, and then you listen to the rabbi.
It depends on the situation, obviously. However, but in the general sense, if we're just asking in a blanket statement over here, the rabbi has precedent. But now, we see over here that we have to have respect in these things. It's like, for example, if I put you in a job now, right? I put you in my company, and I want you to work in my company. And I put it ahead. There's what we call a manager, associate manager, and a manager, and then there's the manager of this division, and there's a hierarchy in the company. Now you come in and you're a new worker, and when the manager comes to tell you something, or the associate manager comes to tell you something, you're like, nah, who are you to tell me what to do? So you don't have respect for hierarchy. You're not going to survive in this company. You're not going to be able to take orders from someone who's above you, who's been here for longer than you, and who has more experience than you. Then therefore you don't have the ability to survive in this company. Because you don't know how to understand. Same thing with the gym, right? You come into the gym the first day, right? You can come in with all the ego in the whole entire world and think you know everything. Oh, I know everything. Or you can say, wait a minute, I don't know everything. Let me ask someone who has more experience. And the more experience they have, the more you respect what they say, right? The more time they spend, the more they learn, the more they know, you respect what they say. Same thing over here. The rabbis, the more they learn, the more they toil, we respect what they say. When they tell you to do something, just believe. If I tell a guy in the gym, come up to a bodybuilder, whatever, tells him, oh, I'm doing rear delts like this, and he's pulling it to his chin. And the guy tells him, no, you have to pull it above your ears in a motion like this. He tells him, no, for me, this is what I feel. Okay, so do whatever you want. You're working your traps. You want to work your traps and your rhomboids, or you want to work your rear delts? What? The guy says, I want to work my rear delts. Okay, so then listen to what I'm telling you to do, and do like, turn the wrist, supinate. You know?
Like a Jewish thing, you could still ask why that, like not just take it.
Of course to ask, to understand, but if you get to a situation in which you cannot understand, you ask all the questions and it still's not clicking with you, then what are you going to do? Nah, that's it. No. You know what? I happened to me many times. I'm sitting down my chavuta. We're learning down a certain sugya. We're learning down something. One rabbi in the Gemara says something. I don't understand anything. Am I going to say he was wrong? Am I going to come to have the audacity to say that this rabbi in the Gemara was wrong? Rabbi Yehuda didn't know what he was talking about. Chas v'shalom, Lo zachiti la'avin. I didn't have the merit to understand what he was talking about. No way he's wrong. I'm wrong for understanding. He's right. Baruch Hashem, Abi zocheh la'avin. Hopefully I have the merit to be able to understand what his reasoning is by understanding, going in further. Oh, he's saying to supinate the hands, or he's saying to go like this. Oh wow, you're right. Maybe I do feel a little bit better over there. Maybe You know what I'm saying? So it's understanding that if I didn't understand it, and they said it, it must be that what they're saying is right, and I just didn't have the merit to understand. Same thing over here. And the rabbis tell you, you don't want to go against what they're saying. Why? Because you don't want to be poretz gader. You don't want to break down the fence, and you don't want to get bit by the snake, to fall to your desires. We know that the eyes, the ears, the mouth, all of these things are attached to certain desires. It says that the Chazal tells us a person will never sin if it's not something that he sees. As we know the halakha, that a man shouldn't listen to a woman's voice in music. Right? He shouldn't listen to a woman's voice in music. Why? That he's going to hear her voice, and he's going to yearn for her, and he's going to be aroused. So don't listen to women speaking. But does it apply when he doesn't know what she looks like? So there is a kula that if a person doesn't know what the woman looks like, then therefore wouldn't be an issue. Why? Because his eyes didn't see. So therefore, if my eyes didn't see her, then I don't know what she looks like. Then what am I going to be aroused by? However, if I know what she looks like, then by her voice, then I might be. So we see over here that these things, just this, like a person could hear something and be aroused, or whatever it is. So a person needs to understand these things to stay away. We're trying to keep our gates, we're trying to keep everything holy, to make ourselves spiritually uplifted, to grow and become in a what's it called? In a higher level, that way we're able to grow and be closer to God. That's the ikar over here, that a person needs to understand. That when it comes to life, everyday life, we're people walking in everyday life, what can we do? We fall to situations, but a person needs to try his best to put himself away from situations where he knows he's going to have certain challenges that he won't be able to overcome, because if his eyes see, then he's going to end up falling to it. You understand? If I let myself see, even if I tell myself today, it doesn't bother me. To me, it has no effect. You don't know, because the subconscious never forgets. Right? There's certain therapists, that kids who have traumas, right? They put a 25-year-old kid. 25-year-old kid into a room who has a lot of negativity in his life, and he's always this and that. So what do? They sit him down in a room, and they start making him go back to his childhood. And I don't remember. So they do all types of methods in order to, what they call, access the subconscious. And after they access the subconscious, what ends up happening is the person ends up remembering what he had locked away. The subconscious mind doesn't forget anything. Doesn't forget nothing you saw, doesn't forget anything. Anything. It can be brought to you back within a split second. That's why you have many times where, for example, you had a certain smell in the past that brought up a thought. You didn't think about it for years. All of a sudden, a person walks by you in the street, you smell that smell, and you remember that moment. Or a place, or whatever it is, that aroused it. Whoa, where'd that memory even come from? Totally forgot about it. What? That smell, these things arouse in the subconscious that thought to come to the conscious mind. And you remember them because they're stored. They're stored. If you go to one of the classrooms, I want to remember the kids used to come and kick me. 100%. 100% I remember. And then I remember if I go to the gym, I throw a kid into the wall. Don't kick me. Yeah, now that we spoke about that, I want to speak about one more point, and we're going to end it over here with this last point. Parashat continues, and obviously keeping on what we're talking about with the eyes and the ears. V'shfetu et ha'am mishpat tzedek. That's what it says over there in the 16th chapter and the 18th verse. It says that you should judge the people with righteous judgment. And from here we learn the importance of being dan lekav zchut. That's why I said you mekaven. Baruch Hashem, you've seen this week's parasha. You were just saying it just now for a certain somebody who was coming late. Yeah, he said dan lekav zchut. Maybe he's bringing people. Maybe who knows? Maybe he's walking the dog. Who knows what he's doing? Dan lekav zchut. Right? So over here we see the parasha talks about it. Now we know, Avi, Mishnah Pirkei Avot. In the first chapter in the 6th verse, what does it say over there? Yoshua ben Parcha. What did it say? What does it say over there? Yoshua ben Parcha says, תעשה לך רב, תקנה לך חבר, והאבדן את כל אדם לקו זכות. It says over there, make for yourself a teacher, acquire for yourself a friend, and judge each person favorably. You have an obligation to judge another person favorably. Even when things look doesn't even make sense to you. You're looking at the situation saying, there's no way that what this person is doing is even making sense.
Even a goy.
Yehudim, Yehudim we're talking about over here. Judge a Yehudi favorably. Of course, also a goy, as a goy, to be in a way that we're kind of mechazek atzmel for the Yehudi. You understand? Make yourself holy in the things that are allowed to you. So don't talk Lashon Hara about a goy. So therefore you won't come to talk Lashon Hara about a Yehudi. Same thing principle applies over here. חזק וברוך. יפה מאוד. בדיוק as David said, was what the next paper they're talking about. that when a person judges a person favorably, that's exactly in Shamayim, in the next world, they judge him according to the way he judged another person. And where do we see this from? In Masechet Shabbat, on the 127 daf over there, Amud Bet, brings down stories, countless amount of stories that relate the point that a person needs to be done to judge another person favorably. And I'm going to focus in on one of them, and it starts off with a Braita. The Braita starts off, a person who judges another person favorably, as Rabbi David was saying, he himself is judged favorably. And it relates a story of a person, a worker, who lived in the upper Galil, in Eretz Yisrael, in the upper north portion of Eretz Yisrael, and a homeowner in the south hired him to work for him for 3 years, to make a certain amount of money, and he hired him to come work. The man went to work for this homeowner, and he sat there for 3 years, and he worked, and he toiled the land, and he cut the crops, and did everything that the owner told him to do. At the end of the 3 tough, difficult years of working, he comes to the owner and tells him, my 3 years are up, please let me get my pay so that way I can go back to my family and give them the money so that I can feed my children. And what does the owner tell him? The homeowner tells him, I don't have money. I don't have money? Okay. So at least give me produce, at least give me some type of vegetables that I'll be able to go and feed my family. He says, I don't have produce. At least give me some land. And what does he say? I don't have any land. At least give me some blankets, some comforters, something that I can take to my family. I don't have any blankets or comforters. And the worker packed his stuff up and went back to his family. He came back to his family, and his wife was anticipating him to come and be able to get money to pay for the children. And unfortunately, to their surprise, the man came home, no money. Came Sukkot of that year, and the homeowner comes going down the road, carrying with him in his hand the schar, the amount of money that he agreed to give this worker, and with him he carried crates of food, drink, and sweets to give to this worker. And he goes to the worker's house, and he hands him the money, and he hands him the food, he hands him the drinks, he hands him the sweets. And after they eat and they drink and they say hello to each other, the homeowner asks the worker, he says to him, can I just ask you a question? When you came to me and asked me for money, and I told you I have no money, what did you think? He said, I thought maybe there was a lucrative investment that came up all of a sudden, that you had to invest all the money in, that you had to be able to make the revach, to make the profit from it, so you invested it. And when you come in and ask me about my animals, which I didn't mention unfortunately, the animals, that I should give you animals, he said, maybe you rented them to another person so that way you can get money. And he said, what about the land? He said, I assumed that all of it was leased. And he says, when I told you about the produce, what did you say? He says, maybe you didn't take out the maaser, maybe you didn't tithe from it yet, and therefore it's not allowed to be used. He said, and what about the blankets and the comforters? What did he say? Must have been that you sanctified all your belongings to Hashem, that you made everything kadosh. Look how far he went. Look how far he went. Look how far he went. In his mind, he was thinking how far he's going to go with all these things. Be honest with me right now. Who's sitting over here going to work tomorrow, closing a deal, and coming to the boss and telling him, Yalla, give me my commission check? He tells him, I don't have any money. Okay, so give me some equity in the company. I don't have any equity in the company to give. Okay, so then give me some, give me some cookies. I don't have any cookies. Give me something. I don't have nothing. Give me a wife. I don't have a wife. I don't have nothing to give you. Nothing to give you. And he's sitting over there, okay, maybe really he went bankrupt, and maybe really the business is going down under, and maybe he really got divorced, and maybe, you gotta go through all that situation. And what's the homeowner tell him? Exactly what you said is exactly what is true. Exactly what you said is exactly what is true. My son, I made a swear, I vowed, and I made kadosh, and I sanctified all my belongings because my son wasn't learning Torah. And because, Hukan was his name, he wasn't learning Torah. And because of that, I sanctified all my belongings to the what's it called? To the Beit HaMikdash, that everything was kadosh. And after Sukkot, when I came after Sukkot, I went up, the rabbi saw me, and they know my vows. And therefore everything came back to me, and it was no longer kadosh. As soon as I know my vows, I came back to give you the money that I owe you. And not only that, because you judged me favorably, I also brought food, drinks, and sweets. Trays and trays and trays, so you can feed your family. Why? Because you judged me favorably, and he gave him a blessing. That what? That I bless you, that you also should be judged favorably by Hashem. Now, who is this story about? You don't want to say? The Shiltot says, related to this story, is about Rabbi Akiva. Who was the worker in the story? Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was the worker in the story in which he went and he saw, and all this happened to him. He was the one who was working. Look at the Gdula of Rabbi Akiva. Look how high. And from here we learn how important it is for us everyone sitting over here, and everyone who's watching, to be dan lekav zchut, to judge another person favorably in everything you do. And when you do that, what's end up going to happen to you? Now, now we're in Elul. Now we're about to get to Rosh Hashanah. We're about to get to the time where we're judged for the whole entire year. Now is exactly the time to go and be more stringent with these things, to judge another person favorably. Why? Because come Rosh Hashanah, we want Hashem to judge us favorably. And that's good we're going to have.
That's a story like that keeps happening.
Okay, we'll get to the question in a second. And that's good we're going to have. As Hashem, we're all going to be able to be judged and written in a good, beautiful year this Rosh Hashanah.